guys, how you doing? This is Manga Section. I'm here today to bring you the review for the first chapter of Build King. And now I say review, but it probably end up being more of my first impressions and just throwing my thoughts out there for what I think about the series thus far. Obviously, it's only one chapter so far, but I feel like it's very important to get certain things out within the first chapter because you really and truly you want to wheel in your audience from the first chapter. You want to grab in as many people as possible with just one chapter, so they would want to read the next chapter and so forth and so forth, and then eventually they're hooked into the whole series. But there are people out there who will say, do you know what? Life is too short. It needs to be good now. So they will determine if they're going to stick with a series within one chapter. And if I was one of those people who would look at one chapter and say, all right, it's do or die, then this would be dying for me within one chapter. And it's not fair to judge things like that. But like I said, life is short, so you got to do that sometimes. But I am going to be putting this on the channel. I will be reviewing it in its entirety, he says right now, knowing that he has dropped a series in the past. But for now, this will be joining the roster. Hopefully, it will stick with it thus far. So, okay, I have taken notes because this chapter was a long chapter for the first chapter of things I do want to mention. And like I said previously, it's not going to be really much of a review, more of my first impressions. So, first and foremost, we're gonna have two main characters. Seems like we're gonna have two main characters, but for now we can wholeheartedly say we've got two main characters. Ton, I'm just gonna call him Ton for short, and Renga. So my impressions on these two thus far is that I don't like them, and it's not anything that's been done by the mangaka or anything. It's just that simply they ain't had enough screen time for me personally to like them in any shape or form. But we have Ton, who seems, I reckon he's going to be like the main number one guy, main character, and because basically the show is about building stuff. So I'm assuming that the majority of the characters will be carpenters. So Ton is a carpenter, but he sucks at his job, and now he sucks at his job. He sucks at building things, but he makes up for it in his strength, in his might, and that's going to be his thing. Basically, he will. I reckon it depends on how long this series is going to be. Actually, at the end of the day, because if it's a long series with a time skip and that, I reckon that if it's going to be a long series of a time skip, I reckon he will get better at building stuff. But if it's just going to be a short series, then I reckon, yeah, that's going to be the thing. Like, he sucks at building things, but he makes up for it in strength. And yeah, that's how I think it'll be. And I think that will play into like Renga's character as well, where Renga will be the builder, but he will suck at fighting. I'll talk about Renga a little bit more later on. But right now, I'm talking about Ton. So, like I said, sucks at building, makes up for it in strength. I'm pretty sure this is like a trope that I've seen before, but I can't remember where. I don't know if it's an anime or just like something live action I watch. But I'm pretty sure I've seen this trope before where the main character they suck at the profession that they're supposed to be good at. Well, yeah, yeah, because they're claiming to be a certain profession, but they're not good at it. But they make up for it in other ways. If you have any idea where I'm getting this from, please let me know in the comments. But yeah, he sucks, but he makes up for it in strength, and we see his strength, his speed within the chapter. He has a very good, well, I say very good speed blitz within the chapter. It was commented that he's moving very fast, and we see him fighting this big troll. And I think what was impressive for me was at first where he's talking to Renga, and the troll punches and like and he hits him, and he's like, Don't worry, I got the piece. Don't worry, I got the. So they don't phase him in no no shape or form. So he is very strong, and he's wielding a hammer. Now, this hammer was given to him by his master. I'll talk about the master in a bit later. And it's called the Vigor Hammer, I think it would be, and it's powered by his vitality, as it is mentioned. And we see it grow to 10 meters within this chapter. And Ton does have a bit of trouble handling the power at 10 meters. If this hammer can go longer than 10 meters, obviously we'll find out as things go on. But right now, it's 10 meters, and there's drawbacks to him using the power at 10 meters. And I guess that's really everything else. Oh, he also plays the big brother figure. We've seen it done before, protective big brother. I'm not against it. So you can say I like it, I like that trope, whatever. But been there, done that kind of rap. Uh, one thing, another one thing that I want to throw out there fairly early. I'm gonna put I wanna put that in there fairly early, is that I think that eventually, at some point within the series, most likely at the end, Ton will be seen as a Build King. I'm gonna put that in there very early. I'm gonna put it in there very early. At some point in the series, Ton will be seen as a Build King. So yeah, I think I'll save that for the talk about Hammer Island. But yeah, so on the other side of things, we have Renga. Renga, I reckon, like I said previously, will play the opposite of Ton. Renga is good at hit. Well, he actually plays it. I'll talk about that in a second when I get to the Shovel Master. So Rengar is a carpenter. He's good at his job. He builds good houses. Um, yeah, he's good at that side of things, but he probably sucks at fighting. When it came to the boss house breaker, the big bad for the chapter, when he sees him, he's quickly to run back into his house to protect the penguins, to protect himself essentially. So he's not going to be the fighter. Do I reckon he has fighting potential? Probably. Can he gather fighting potential? Probably. Uh, if this is going to be a long again, if it's going to be a long series, I reckon like when a time skip occurs, I reckon there'll be a point where he could improve in his fighting. But for the most part, so far, I reckon the fighting will be done by Ton. The building will be done by what's the name, Renga. So moving on to the third human character we are introduced to within this chapter, the Shovel Master. He's said to be uh, uh, a master carpenter. So I'm going to talk about that when I talk about the island actually. But he basically plays the father figure for these two. He taught them everything they know. He's the father figure. I'm just going to leave it at that. I will be bringing them up a bit later on as well. And should I say that for the? Yeah, I'll say that for a bit when the ship approaches. Okay, but yeah, you've got the Shovel Master as well. So the Shovel Master is the one who tells us and gives us the breakdown about Build Kings. And these are basically superstructures all over the world. We don't know how many they are. We don't know how long they've been standing. And they're just all over the world. African at some point we will go to all of these different build kings. And now there is one thing that I'm confused about, and one thing that I'm intrigued about build kings so far. The one thing that I'm confused about is that how the shovel master, carpenter master, says that he's going to do construction on the build king. To me, it sounds like he's going to be working on a new build king. I'm not sure about that. And another thing that he said is that when Ton and Renga are asking, can we come along with you? He says that they wouldn't be able to get close to a Build King. Is this like a powers thing, like where the Build Kings bring off some sort of aura which wouldn't let them draw close draw close to a Build King, or something else. I don't know. Maybe maybe he's just trolling them a bit. But he does say to them that he's willing to take them onto a Build King site when they can pass a test. And his test for them was for them to build a house. Ooh, should I talk about this later? I'll bring it up later. Yeah, I'll bring up in the last bit. I'll bring up in the last bit. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is Hammer Island. I'm not sure if it's in the middle of nowhere, but it's said to be very unapproachable, and no other humans live there, obviously, except for Ton and Renga. Now, this is very interesting because as the chapter goes on, towards the end of the chapter, it is mentioned that Renga and Ton, they're not blood related. They're not blood related. So that means possibly, because they may have been dropped off there by the same person. Ton and Renga may have been dropped off the same person. But if we assume that two families came to this island and left the children there, maybe lost them. Let's not be deep, so maybe lost them. That is the possibility. It's kind of that whole why was these two families there? This island is very unapproachable. Did they go seeking this island? Did they happen to just end up there? What happened? Did they leave the children there on purpose, or was it an accident? What happened? And that also brings me to, why was the master there? Why was the master there? Because he even said himself, like, he didn't expect to come across any other people, especially children. So why was he there as well? So that's another question that I will answer eventually. Eventually. We probably will get an answer eventually. So Ton beats the big bad for this chapter. Chapter ends, praise, yay, thank you for saving us, yay. And then the chapter ends off with a ship approaching. We find out through the flashback that the master says, in a couple of years, I'll come for you. I'll come for you. I'll come back for you. I think he says that. Does he say himself personally? I can't remember. But he said, he'll come for them or he'll send someone for them. If it was that he said that he will come for them personally, I don't think that would be the case. I think that he is going to send someone there for him. And that goes into what I predict for the next chapter, really, because I'm pretty sure they've both failed. I can't remember exactly the word right now. Because basically, what I'm thinking is, because the Shovel Master gave him a task. If the task was to build a house that was strong enough to stand up to the big boss, then they've both failed. If the task was only for them to just build a strong, sturdy house that could withstand the majority of the threats on the island, then technically Renga has passed. He's passed because it stood the stand of time. It dealt with the minor threats. It just couldn't withstand the big bad. I'm pretty sure that's what it was actually. The master said majority, but if it could stand up to the boss as well, that would be even great. That would be even greater. But with Ton, obviously he's failed in the literal sense, but in the figurative sense, he may have not built a house, but he did build something that can withstand these threats, which is himself. So that's what I kind of see happening within the next chapter, really, where this person on the ship, not being a master, will come. He will see that Renga has truly passed the test and say, like, yo, yeah, I'll take you, Renga, but Todd, you'll stay in here. But as the chapter goes on, I don't know, maybe another threat on the level of the I don't know where this threat's gonna come from, but maybe another threat on the same level of the big bad of chapter 1 will come up. Ton will defeat it, will impress the guy who's come on the ship, and he will be like, yo, okay, cool, okay, I'm taking you as well. So those are, I guess, my predictions for chapter 2. And this whole video is essentially my first impressions for the chapter. So I will give it a rating. I will give it a rating. Like I said at the very beginning of this review, it's all about the wheeling in of the first chapter. So that's where my rating is going to lie for the first chapter. Not the well, they are considered. They are considered. Not the story, not the characters, not the not the story, not the characters. This is they are considered, but yeah, not the story, not the characters. Just the overall enjoyment of and the pull for me to be invested in the series. How did it do? How did it do in that front? 2-star rating. 2-star rating. So that's not even average. Not even average. But there's potential for growth. There's definitely a lot of potential for growth. I do reckon as the chapters fly by, I will become more invested in the series. But let us see. Like always, guys, I'm asking for your thoughts and opinions. Sorry this video is so long. Like always, guys, I'm asking for your thoughts and opinions. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. But most importantly, take care. Have a nice day.